What's going on, guys? Coach Joe here at the Lions Den, and today I'm going to be covering 5 tips that will help you increase your overhead press. Now, when it comes to pressing, I like to think I'm pretty proficient at pressing, and my estimated 1 rep max coming up is about a 300-pound strict press. I put 400 pounds over my head with different jerk variations and pretty much in between 350 to 400 for push press variations. So I've been pressing for a long time. My history with pressing is that I started off just doing bodybuilding for a while, then got into CrossFit. CrossFit led to weightlifting, and then from there on, I've done strongman. So especially in strongman and weightlifting, having a good overhead is going to be key to help advance you as an athlete. So I want to cover a couple of the tips that have really been a game changer for my press and the things that I see in the gym, from the one that occurs the most all the way down to the last one. That's the order we're going to go into, 1 through 5. All right, so one of the most common errors I see when people are pressing is that their feet are way too narrow. So this is specifically in the gym when people come in and I'm just watching, observing them. All the time, I think that their feet are too close and they're either touching their feet together or they're at like a hip width stance. So the first thing that I like to do with them is just move them out to a shoulder width stance. And the reason we do this is because we want a nice, strong base. And the more of a strong base we have, the more foundation we have to press. So you're gonna find that if you have a wider base, you're gonna be nice and sturdy, nice and strong, and it's gonna be easier to press all the way up. So my first suggestion to you guys is to check where your feet are at when you're pressing. If they are too narrow, I would say anywhere from hip width or inside of that, try going shoulder width and slightly turn your toes outward for a nice stronger base, and keep everything locked in tight. Abs are tight. You're gonna squeeze your butt while you're pressing, and I think this is gonna make a difference in your press. So the second tip that I would give, and I see often, is that people are too wide on the bar with their grip. So I like taking a more narrow approach to the overhead press, and that has made a big difference. And the reason that it's made a difference is because I have more bone-on-bone structure stacked upon each other. So I'm gonna get to utilize my lats nice and tight in the setup, and I'm pressing directly overhead. The further we go outside of center mass, the harder something's gonna become. So when we're talking about overall strength and being able to put as much power and force production into the movement, I like having a more narrower grip, and also it's gonna utilize the triceps a little bit more. So if you have strong triceps or you're working on increasing your tricep strength, I think this is gonna have a large carryover for your main strict press. Next tip is gonna be about breathing. Often when I see people pressing, they're breathing throughout the press. And that's something we do not want to do. I know it's very basic, but it's easy to do while you're pressing. So when you are going to press, make sure that you breathe prior to pressing or at the top between your reps. Do not breathe as you're pressing, because you're gonna let all that air out. Your body's gonna sort of collapse and you're gonna be more likely to have a bad bar path or miss the rep entirely. So when it comes for maximal strength when doing the overhead press, I like to use the classic press, and it's kind of the way that Starting Strength teaches their press and Mark Rippetoe, where you actually bring the barbell down before you press and kind of shoot your hips forward a little bit and then drive straight up while squeezing your butt. Now, what I want to talk about is actually the leaning backwards. There's a slight lean back when pressing, and that is totally okay. And I actually think it's going to develop a more strong press because you get to use all the muscles in the back as your advantage to pressing overhead. So when I press now, I have a slight lean backwards. Don't want to over exaggerate it, but as the bar kind of goes down for a second and then you drive through it, you're gonna get to use all those bigger muscle groups and have a more efficient and stronger press. So this last tip is kind of like a double tip, but they play off of each other, is that when you're pressing, you wanna make sure that you press the bar straight up and down. You don't wanna press the bar out in front of you, and we wanna keep it over midline in our body. It's gonna be the most efficient and easiest way to press without using a ton of extra energy. So sometimes I see people pressing it over out in front of their face when we wanna really just keep our face away from the barbell and press directly up. So you kinda wanna make a double chin-like face. It's kind of attractive here. And press straight up and be vertical with your press, not out in front. At the same respect, we wanna make sure that when we're pressing straight up, we don't over extend and push backwards with the bar. Okay, so you just want to find that happy medium, and I almost like to think that my ear is going to be in line with my bicep when I press. So it's kind of a good cue I'll tell people is when you press straight up, your ear should be right in line with where your biceps are at. Now I want to keep these videos pretty short, sweet, and simple to the point, so hopefully I've done that, and hopefully you can kind of use these tips in your training to help you with your overhead press. May just use one or two of them, not all of them, but I think there's a lot of valuable information. This is especially for the beginner lifter or someone who's just trying to make their overhead press a little bit better. So there you guys have it. Hopefully this helped you. Make sure you like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. The channel's been growing and I'm really appreciative and just grateful for all your support. Thank you so much, guys. Stay lean, mean, strength machine, and I will catch up with you guys next time.